don't just use watashi if you really want to sound like a native speaker, because native Japanese speaker usually use 2, 3, or even more first-person pronoun to say I, my, me, myself. Hey guys, it's Sayaka. Welcome to NihongoDekita. I've seen a lot of Japanese learners only using watashi as their first-person pronoun, but in Japanese, there are many variations of that. And just like I said in the beginning of this video, a single person can use 2, 3, 4, or even more first-person pronouns, depending on 4 elements: the relationship with the person you're talking to, in what situation you're in, your identity, and generation. And after watching this video, you're gonna be able to decide which first-person pronoun to use when. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna go over 8 most commonly used ones, and the very first one will be watashi, of course, watashi. This is the very first-person pronoun you introduced in most Japanese textbooks. And the formality is, it can be both formal and casual. When it's used in formal settings, it's used by both men and women, and it's gender neutral. However, when it's in casual settings, it's only used by women because it carries some feminine impressions. Japanese people change their first-person pronoun as they grow up because the situation you're put into changes over time, right? For example, if you're 10 years old, you're going to school, you see your teachers, classmates, and your family. So you're not really in the business setting. You don't have to use really formal language. So men start using watashi when they are first put into the business settings after graduating school. That's the formality that it carries. So it's used in formal business meetings or meeting clients. The next one is atashi. Atashi. Yes, it sounds really similar to watashi. It's the broken version of watashi and much more casual than watashi, I would say. It's used by young women most of the time. In the old days, male craftsmen and merchants used to use this in around Tokyo area. Because of that, rakugoka, Japanese traditional comic storytellers, still use this as their first-person pronoun in their storytelling. Next one is uchi. Uchi, and this is casual and used by young girls most of the time. It used to be used in around Osaka area only, but around 80s to 90s there were a lot of female anime characters using uchi as their first-person pronoun, and it spread all over Japan. Like for example, うるせえやつらのラムちゃん, she says uchi. And I used to use it when I was in elementary school to around high school-ish. I don't remember exactly. The reason why is it doesn't sound as feminine as atashi or watashi. And those age, like puberty age, they are still in the phase of developing their identity, right? So what I went through personally is I used to call myself Saya-chan with my own nickname, which I will talk about later. But from Saya-chan to shifting to another first-person pronoun, I wasn't too confident enough to say watashi or atashi, and I was too shy to call myself watashi. But uchi is less feminine, so I chose uchi as my first-person pronoun. But eventually, I changed my pronoun to watashi around the university because uchi sounded a bit more like, as I said, it's used by young girls, so it carries that impression as well. So now you might be wondering what guys use then. The first one for guys is ore. Ore. And this is the most common first-person pronoun among men in casual settings. It sounds very masculine, sometimes a little aggressive and a little cocky. In my opinion, it carries the impression of someone who speaks English like, hey dude, yo bro, what's up? But remember, this is very, very casual, and guys usually use ore when they are speaking to someone in their age group or younger. Fun fact is, the kanji ore is added to Joyo kanji. A list of commonly used kanji was just 2010, because it said that it lacks elegance. So they were hesitant to add the kanji. And it actually has a rich history with this word. In Kamakura era, it was actually the second-person pronoun, but as it spread to other regions, it became a first-person pronoun for some reason. often. And in Edo era, both men and women were using ore as their first person pronoun regardless of their status in the society. And in Meiji era, women started using ore less as their first person pronoun. However, it was stuck in Tokai region, which is where I lived, like Nagoya, Mie, Gifu area. A few women, senior women, still use ore as their first person pronoun. But there's something that I want you guys to remember, especially if you're in the beginner stage of learning Japanese. Ore is not really recommended to use until you're really confident to form a sentence and speak with other people, especially in casual speech, because it carries really casual impression and sometimes a little aggressive. If you use ore as your first person pronoun in the very beginner stage of learning Japanese, it might sound a little off, or like your first pronoun and how you speak don't really give the same impression to Japanese people. So now the next one for guys is boku. Boku. It is used in casual settings and also, I would say, semi-formal situations. So boku carries an impression of good boy. It sounds more modest and gentle and carries less masculinity than ore. And it's used by people in wide age range. In casual settings, you can call yourself boku, especially when you're meeting someone for the first time and you haven't really built a relationship with the person. You might want to represent yourself as boku, because, you know, good boy. It's also used in semi-formal situations. What I mean by semi-formal situation is, for example, you want to talk to your colleagues, like senior colleagues or your managers you see often, so you have already built relationship with them, but you don't want to sound too casual like ore, then that's when you want to use boku. And there are two fun facts about this. Boku is used as second person pronoun when talking to little boys. If you don't know their names, like maybe they're lost on the street and you want to talk to them and help them, you don't know their names, right? So you can say, boku, どうしたの? Boku, 大丈夫? Are you okay, little boy? So that's when boku is used as a second person pronoun. And the history behind boku is really interesting too. In Heian era, boku, this kanji was actually read as yatsugare, yatsugare, and originally it meant servants and used as a very humble term. And by the time of Meiji era, it was already pronounced as boku and used mostly among students who were also servants. And as they started using it, it spread to the public. And you might be wondering, so is there anything that is casual and also gender neutral? The thing is, there's not complete gender neutral one, but this might be the one that is most gender neutral in casual settings, which is jibun. Jibun. And jibun is used in casual to, again, semi-formal situation and used by both men and women, but I'm gonna explain that more. Jibun sounds really calm and disciplined, and most of the time it's used by athletic people. In Japanese, 体育会系の人. When Japanese people hear 体育会系の人, we associate them with having good manner and very polite, because in Japanese culture, if you're in the sports club, you learn good manner and politeness very strictly, especially if you're in school sports club. Another reason is, after Meiji era, Imperial Japanese Army used to use jibun as their first person pronoun. It was actually recommended to use. So that's also where the impression is coming from. Another fun fact about jibun is in Kansai area, which is Osaka area, jibun is used as second person pronoun. The next one is watakushi. Watakushi. And this is very super ultra polite and used by both men and women. And watakushi is often used in making formal announcements such as 私事ですが watakushi goto desu ga. It's just a personal matter, but to announce some life turning point such as marriage or moving to a different place to people. For example, what I see often on social media especially is that my friends or other Japanese celebrities posting about their life turning points. 私事ですが この度、子供を授かりました。私事ですが、この度、コウジさんと結婚いたしました。Something like that. You might also hear it from politicians when they are doing like election speech and stuff. When they introduce themselves politely, they might say, 私、さやかでございます。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。Next one is your own name and your own nickname. And previously in this video, I said I used to use Saya-chan as my first person pronoun when I was little. But it is very, very casual and it's used by both, I would say, boys and girls, but mostly young girls. And the impression varies depending on the situation. But the main impression is it sounds really childish. And it also sounds like burikko in Japanese term. Burikko means someone who's trying to be popular among other gender, especially girls among men, by looking cute or sounding cute, childish. But because of that, people sometimes use it to kind of joke around. But you would do that with like really close friends. So those were the 8 most commonly used ones by native Japanese speakers, but I want to also cover the ones that are used within the family members because there's a unique Japanese culture. So within the family members, it depends on what are you to them in terms of family roles. And it really depends on if you're older or younger. If you're older, you can use the family role as your first person pronoun, and that's the most case. And if you're younger, you'd use one of the first person pronoun that we've covered so far. Now let's take a look at this example. Grandma, dad, and a daughter. When she's talking to her son, she would refer to herself as お母さん, mother. And when he's talking to her, his mom, because he's younger, he would call himself 俺 or boku. Now when he's talking to his daughter, he would say お父さん or papa. Now, when she's talking to her dad, she would use her own name or watashi or atashi. Now, what about when the grandma is talking to her grandchild? She would say おばあちゃん. Alright, now let's do some exercise. So I would like you guys to decide what he can use as his first person pronoun depending on who he's talking to. So number 1 is close friends. Number 2, he's talking to his son. And number 3, he's talking to close colleagues in the same age group or younger. And number 4, he's talking to close colleagues but older. Like, for example, your manager. And lastly, he's talking to the CEO of the company or clients. So I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds to think. If it's not enough, please pause the video and think. Alright, let's begin. Time's up. Alright, so let's check the answer. Number 1, if you got 俺, well done. A lot of Japanese people use 俺 when they talk to a close friend. So 俺. Number 2, talking to his son. He would probably go like お父さん or papa. So if you got that, really well done. Now on to the third one. He's gonna probably go with 俺 still. 俺. Because they are in the same age group, you don't have to really show the politeness. It really depends on how close he feels with each person he's talking to. He might be using boku. That creates a little more distance with the people. Now, next one, number 4 is he's probably going boku, because it sounds like a good boy, you know? And it's not as casual as ore, so boku would be the best match for him as his first person pronoun. Last one, he is probably using watashi. So if you got that, really congratulations. How many people got all 5 of them? Really, you nailed it. Now you know which one you want to use for your first person pronoun depending on the situation and how you want to present yourself to different people. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell to not miss any of my upcoming videos. Alright, so 皆さんここまで見てくれてありがとう。I'll see you in the next video. またね。Bye!